The Singer SM 1500. It looks a good car, and it is a good car. Well, welcome to the Old Classic Car channel. The subject of today's video is classic British cars of the 1950s. This is probably one of my favourite eras of all for old cars, because they've got the character of a much older car, but they're still relatively usable on a daily basis. The only downside, sometimes the gearing isn't suited to sort of fast A roads and motorways. But as long as you're sticking to normal A roads and B roads, a 50s car can be a great choice as a regular user. I hope to feature around 130 photographs in this particular video, all of cars seen at shows in the last 10-15 years or so, and just celebrate the rich variety of cars that were made back in those days and are still available today if you sort of go looking for them. Many of these cars would have been featured in period publications such as this copy of The Motor from 1952, and I'll be having a quick look through here just to get a reminder of what cars, makes and models were around in those days. So let's have a quick flick through a typical magazine for 1952. Let's have a back cover. Lucas Quality Electrical Equipment, London to the Cape, record broken by 2 days and 5 hours near Hillman Mink's Saloon. So a quick flick through here, look past all the classifieds. Plenty of gems. 1939 Buick Deluxe Saloon, black, clean condition, £550. Let's see. The Javelin Jupiter. Small allocation of Jupiters this year make it possible for us to accept a very limited quantity of orders. Nice. So I'm sure there'll be some more Jowett content coming up. There's certainly plenty of photographs in the upcoming selection of pictures. Let's have a look, see what we can find. Oh, there we go. The 1.5 litre Javelin. Outstanding in performance, accommodation and economy. A statement which may be confirmed by a visit to Newnham House at any time, when we shall be most pleased to arrange a demonstration run on this remarkable car by Jowett's. Of course, that was made in Bradford, Yorkshire's finest. Quite an innovative little car back in the day, but I think reliability issues with the engine did cause a few headaches for Jowett, which probably led to their untimely demise. There's a Boxer, I think it's a 4-cylinder Boxer engine. So that's the Javelin. On the other side we have, for the sheer joy of driving, I'd like to go there, in an Elvis. There we go. Another fine machine of the British motor industry of the 1950s. And we've got an article about driving an HRG somewhere or other. So look. Keep going. It's driving a Triumph Mayflower across Pakistan. You can see that. There we go. Oh, very exciting stuff. I guess it wasn't a speed event. Then we've got Grace, Space and Pace, the Jaguar Mark 7 Saloon. In many lands, in many languages, the world's press has paid generous tribute to the Jaguar. Like their words on the Mark 7 Saloon speak for themselves. Indescribable beauty, remarkably modern, yet in impeccable good taste. And so it goes on. Very nice. On the other side, coming back down to earth slightly, on show now at 1,000 Austin dealers, the new Austin A40 Somerset. It's worldwide and handsome. It's at your local dealers now. See the brilliant new Austin A40 Somerset today. You'll admire the Somerset's graceful new styling. You'll like its new refinements. A deep curved windscreen and rear window, push button door handles with safety door locks at the rear, and external side lamps visible to the driver. It has luxurious foam-filled seating in leather and extra room all round. The Somerset has the record-breaking 4-cylinder overhead valve A40 engine with improved induction and cylinder head design for extra top gear performance. All I remember about cylinder heads on these is they were quite prone to blowing gaskets. I seem to remember changing mine quite a few times. And is that guy at the back there push starting it? I hope not, but it does remind me of when I bought mine. Brought it back from Yorkshire over the top, and we broke down. I had to get my wife to push me over the top of the hill so we could coast down the other side to the nearest pub and phone the AA to get brought back home. And it's one of the few cars where I've had a wheel come off as well while I've been driving along. But that's probably wasn't the A40's fault. So let's carry on a little bit further. An article about a Mark 1 console, and then the road test of the Jowett Javelin Deluxe, an unconventional 1.5 litre car which provides an unusual combination of roominess, performance and economy. So what do they make of it by the time we get to the end? In all, this Javelin is a car which, with very many attractive sides to its character, not the least of which is that its manufacturers have had the courage to break with convention wherever they have seen an advantage to be gained by doing so. What was that? Was that ultimately their downfall, I wonder? There it is. There's for all the specifications for Jarrett enthusiasts. What else have we got here? Something. Van der Velde bearings. Castrol always leads. Spot of information there about racing. And Solex, the service carburettor. Bit of auto testing in Burnham-on-Sea. Mobil oil, bit of trialling, India tyres. Have you seen the new SO road maps? Oh, yes I have, and there are a few up there. Let's keep going. It's undoubtedly a Daimler. To feel that you own one of the world's finest cars is in itself a satisfying thought, but even more satisfying is the daily enjoyment of driving in your Daimler consort. Smooth, silent power, perfect ease of control, effortless cruising at high speed. These take the worry and strain out of long-distance driving. In crowded city streets, the superb manners of the 2.5 litre consort are equally in evidence. You possess, in a Daimler, a master product of engineering craftsmanship. It is an investment of lasting value and constant delight. By appointment, motor car manufacturers to His Majesty King George VI. Indeed so. We have Dominion fuels. Oh, the Humber Super Snipe. I do like these. Big side valve engine. I remember finding a couple of these abandoned ones looking slightly sorry for themselves, and I was particularly impressed that built into below the rear side window, I'm not sure if it was this side or the other, there was a small HMV radio, and I just thought that was a very neat little detail. Again, when radios and things were usually optional extras. And then we have a bit of motoring news, including a revised Armstrong Siddeley Whitley, now with 6 light coachwork, i.e. 3 main windows down either side, whereas previously it was 2 windows, or 4 light bodywork. And there we have an advert for the MG TD. You'll find she's quite roomy for a little un, one chap says to another. She's a sturdy sports car, this midget, and now the body's wider and the seating is roomier and more comfortable. Notice those new luxury fittings too, the radio cunningly built into the glove box, that's an optional extra. The redesigned fascia panel mounted in good looking leather cloth, the increased luggage space, and the bodywork is a delight. No wonder the TD midget is a Hollywood favourite. Yes, I was never really entirely sold on these plain disc wheels, and a smaller diameter compared to the TC, its predecessor. I always thought the TD was a bit of a poor replacement for the TC really, but I guess it was more modern and time rolls on, and still there was that, and then there's the TF, and then it was the MGA. So these pre-war lines were slowly but surely on their way out, but in 1952 MG was still soldiering on with them. Now, we've got a few motoring accessories to tempt and delight the reader. What have we got? Coombs of Guildford. They'd gone on to be very well known for their much modified Mark II Jaguar saloons, but back in 1952 they were selling all manner of different cars, mainly Bentleys. Although there's the odd Rover, Jaguar, Humphawk, Javelin, and a 1947 Citroen. Very nice. More accessories to come. Bluemel's number plates, very nice. And the DRH motor heater and demister. Of course, outside of the more expensive end of the market, your normal family cars usually didn't come with heaters at all, so it was left to the owner, the DIY owner enthusiast, to fit his or her own. And this was just one of them, the DRH motor heater. Let's see what else we've got in here. Rotoflow shock absorbers. And winter protection thanks to Johnson's car plate polish. Very nice. Raindrops prove it, we're told. Let's keep going a little bit further, getting near the beginning now. Another car heater and demister. This time from Tudor Accessories. They were well known for their car accessories back in the 50s and 60s, and could provide you with all manner of tempting delights to improve value to your car. Again, Trico as well, with a pop-out dash-fitting cigarette lighter. They were a name very well linked to the world of car accessories. And we've got the ignition tester, which you could test your sparks, check to see if they jumped across this gap by plugging it into the HT system, and it also doubled up as a get you home condenser as well, should the condenser in your distributor pack up. So that's quite handy. We've got an advert for Enots featuring XK120, probably best known for their grease guns, that's what I remember them for. Then we have the knobby time switch, parking lights automatically switched on at lighting up time. So basically you just set the current time and the time you want the lights to come on, a bit like the heating in your house. Well, not in this house, but other people's house. So look, and getting quite close to the beginning now. Measham means a lot now. Measham Motor Sales Organisation. 1952, there weren't that many new cars around, so people were reliant on keeping their old ones going. And inside the front cover we've got a full page ad for the Singer SM1500. It looks a good car, and it is a good car. It's not entirely convincing. And to be honest, they were fairly dumpy little saloons and they didn't sell in great numbers. Usually this had the rear hinged back doors, which is something that you didn't really see very often by that time. The SM1500 soldiered on for a couple more years and was revised and became the Singer Hunter. They fitted a much taller radiator grille, which, if anything, was probably a slightly retrograde step. When everyone else was moving to sort of sleeker, lower designs, they went back to a vertical radiator and a plastic or fiberglass bonnet, just in a bid to try and refresh the design, but it wasn't really that successful, even though there were one or two good aspects to its design. I think it had an overhead cam engine. They weren't really the big seller. Right, well, let's crack on with these British cars of the 50s, and we begin with the Sunbeam Talbot 90. If you want to try quizzing yourself, turn the volume down and then watch it back through a second time and see how many you got right. Here we've got a Rover P4, Cyclops, and then an ACA Seeker, looking particularly nice, a fixed head version of the Ace. And we've got an Aston Martin DB24, that was at the Pageant of Power some years back. And we've got an Austin A35 in grey, looking nice and shiny with some extra lamps. Then we've got a standard 10. I used to run one of these with the stand drive 2-pedal transmission. Sticking with standard, we've got a Phase 3 standard Vanguard. That was in a Welsh scrapyard many years ago. And we've got a Ford Prefect E493A, the old 1172 engine, and a Sunbeam Alpine, I think. This was at the NEC a year or two back. Popular in rallying back in the day. And we've got a Jowett Javelin, as featured in that 1952 magazine, followed by an E40 Somerset, again an advert for one of these featured in The Motor that I was looking at before. And we've got a Hillman Minx, I think this was in a Welsh museum if I remember right. And we've got a XK140 Jaguar fixed head in Ecuria Cos Blue, another Sunbeam on a particularly sunny day with an MG alongside. And we've got a Dello, beloved of trials enthusiasts, powered by the Ford side valve engine 1172. Another Aston Martin DB24, that was at Carfest at Alton Park a few years back. Then a Bond minicar being pursued by a Beetle. Jowett Javelin again, another one, this one in green. Again, this was over in Wales at a museum, I believe, possibly on Anglesey. And an A50, an Austin A50 Cambridge that I found in a wooden shed many years back. And then another Austin, white A35 two-door saloon. And we've got a Riley, 1.5 litre with a dark blue badge. If it was pale blue, it would be the 2.5 litre. And another side valve Ford, this time a Ford Popular 103E, spotted in East Anglia. And another Ford Prefect with a slightly unusual bonnet mascot. I just think it doubled up as the handle to open the bonnet as well. And then we've got a Frisky microcar, that was at the NEC. And this was at Malvern many years ago, a pair of Austin A40 Sports, very similar to the Somerset but with twin carburetors under the bonnet. And then a Ford 100E Popular and a mighty Humber Super Snipe, again as featured in that old copy of The Motor. an MGA on a local club run, and another Cyclops early Rover P4. This one was at Gaydon, the Motor Museum. Then got an Austin Healey Frog Eye Sprite, heading up quite an assortment of British classics there, and then a slightly larger engined Austin Healey. Now this one for use in competition. Then we've got a Paramount, quite a rare machine, usually powered by a Ford Pop engine, followed by an AC Ace, Bristol engine example if I remember rightly. I could be wrong. Then we've got another A35, this one missing its little badge in the centre of the grille. An Elvis Saloon, again at the NEC. And a Rover 90, Cyclops example again with a very low boot line. And to Goodwood in 2006, and an AC Petite, one of several micro cars that were on display. I've got an MGTD, that was over in Wales again. A lot of them seem to be. Back to the NEC, and we've got a Phase 3 Vanguard Vignale Estate. I do like those. Then we've got an A55 Cambridge, showing off its B series engine. And to a distant barn, and a Ford E494A Ford Anglia with an E83W in the background, followed by another MGTD midget. And an A40 Somerset Saloon in green with optional sun visor and headlamp peaks, the pair of No-Tech blue spot lamps on the front. Then we've got the four-door Ford 100E Prefect, and this was in Oswestry, a couple of Series 1 Land Rovers. And this is a Riley 2.6, the replacement for the Pathfinder. Again, popular in the 50s, but very rarely see them now. Followed by a Series 2 Morris Minor convertible. And then we've got another Humber. He's obviously a member of the PVHCC. And then we've got a standard Vanguard Phase 2 with the boot lid, a separate boot, as opposed to the Beetleback version. And a barn find Austin A35 at the NEC a year or two back. And there it is, a Phase 1 standard Vanguard with a Beetleback and the earlier style grille, so that makes it a Phase 1 rather than a 1A. And then we've got a Barclay, a 1960 Barclay, and a Wolseley 444, awaiting some TLC by the look of it. And we've got a Jaguar in brown, and a Armstrong Siddeley Star Sapphire, again very much in barn find condition. Hopefully that went on to be done. And this is a rarity, a Lee Francis 14-horse saloon, coach-built bodywork, which was not uncommon just after the war. And we've got another 100E with Prefect chrome headlamp surrounds, an A35. Again, the painted grille is a differentiator between that and the earlier A30. Then we've got an Allard Clipper. I haven't got anything written down there, so I'm making this up as I go along. An Austin A70 Hereford on the Austin Counties Car Club stand. Those are rare beasts, followed by another standard 10. It could be an 8, but it's probably a 10. Then we've got a lovely old Humber Estate, VSY 512, probably on an age-related registration. And a mighty Austin, I think it's an A135 Princess, something like that. And then we've got another XK Jaguar in a very original, slightly crackly paint condition. Very restored Vauxhall PA, either a Cresta or a Velox. Back to standard again with a Phase 3 Vanguard at Goodwood, prepped for racing. And we've got a Bentley with Freestone and Webb coachwork, I think. Austin A90 Atlantic, looking a little worse for wear, but worse things have been restored. And then we've got a Martin 9, I think, Jaguar. This was a Goodwood revival. Another 100E, side valve powered Ford. This was a Practical Classics restoration a year or two back, an Austin A105 Westminster Estate. Very rare car. And another Somerset, again with a blue tech, No-Tech blue spot lamp, that's right. Triumph Mayflower with an 1800 alongside. Another Ford Prefect E493A. Triumph TR2, I think. Looking a little tired. Got an E-Series Vauxhall Cresta. The American influence very much in evidence there. Over to Silverstone and an AC Ace. and a Ford 103 Pop in green. Another Austin Atlantic, this one looking a bit happier than the one a few moments ago. A Mark 1 Jaguar Saloon, 2.4 or 3.4, needing some TLC, and here's another restored example, just for comparison. Here we have a Jowett Jupiter, looking very dandy, and it's all over red paint job. And we have a Morris 6, the main body shell you can see is a Morris Oxford MO, but with a longer front on it. And then we have a Ford Zephyr Mark 2, taking part in a historic rally, an XK behind. Then we've got an Armstrong Siddeley, I think that's the Whitley, the 4-light version. Down to the Haynes Museum, I believe, and this is another Aston Martin DB24. And over to the NEC, and a slightly tired looking MGA. And here's an MG YA or YB Saloon. Ah, that's my old Moggy Miner. That was a late Highlight MM 1952, but with a later 1098 engine. We've got another Frisky, back to Goodwood Revival in 06. And a Bristol, 4-door Bristol. I'm sure someone will be able to provide a bit more information about this one. That was at Alton Park. Another Austin Westminster prepared for racing. An A30, Austin A30, very early AS3 type with a separate little badge above the radiator and the fuel filler cap mounted on the back wing. And we've got another Austin prepared for racing, is that an A90? A Wolseley 444, very similar in shape to the MG Magnet. Riley RM in two-tone. I've got a Wolseley 680, beloved of many police forces back in the 1950s, and these always used to feature in some of the old black and white films. Another Austin Healey Sprite Mark 1 with a later midget alongside, and a Swallow Duretti based on Triumph TR2 running gear. And another late 50s Morris Minor. And back over at Gaydon in their reserve collection, we've got a Riley Saloon, RM Saloon. There's a Humber Super Snipe. Mark 1 Jaguar, close by with an Austin Healey and an A35. And we've got an Austin A70 Hereford, a bit like a Somerset but just bigger. An XK140 fixed head, in good company. Another Triumph TR2. A Mighty Daimler. Is this a Consort or a DB18? Someone will know. I've got an XK150 Jaguar taking part in a rally. I've got an XK120 Roadster. Another Triumph TR3, 3A. A Series 1 Land Rover with somebody's final Volvo parked alongside, not sure whose that was. And an old Bentley seen at the Woodford Air Day. And a Series 2 Morris Minor split screen, early one with the cheese grater grille before they went to the horizontal slats. And a Jowett Jupiter showing off its engine. Another Series 2 Morris Minor, 4-door this time. Jowett Javelin. And this is a Healey Silverstone at Silverstone, which seems appropriate. Quite a rare Morris Minor Traveller in Series 2 form, the split window, not very few of those still around. Back to the barn, and a very dusty E493A Ford Prefect. Hillman Minx, this was at a show in Shropshire a couple of years back. Another Triumph, prepared for rallying, TR3 or 3A. Sunbeam Talbot 90, two-tone. This one again was in Shropshire. We've got a DB24 at Gaydon. Mighty Daimler. Again, I hope someone might be able to shed a bit more light on what model that is. Another Austin A90 Atlantic. Surprised how many of them are preserved. And then a trio of Jaguar XKs, that was at Alton Park a little while back. Another Riley RM with a Moggy Minor alongside. but that's a bit late for this particular collection. We've got an Austin Metropolitan with an A40 Farina alongside. Austin A40 Devon, very similar to one that I used to run. These were made in the late 40s and into the early 1950s. And finally, a very unusual looking Daimler Roadster. Well, that's about it for this particular collection of photographs featuring classic British cars of the 1950s. Part 2 will be along soon, so I've just got a spot more editing to do, and then we'll be good to go. So if you found that of interest, please like and subscribe, and more videos like this very soon. Bye bye.